What's up, guys? Thanks for checking out the channel. Tobin here with you. Got a brand new Porpoise pod coming out tomorrow. I'll put the link here if you guys wouldn't mind. Subscribe to that. Can't wait for the game to get going. Like, let's go with some football. This has been like Dolphins on a dartboard lately. Just, CNN, phew, Fox, phew, ABC, phew. Just dealing like it feels like the logo has just been at all harms. Just people just pissed at the Dolphins, and we got another investigation, that we got to wait about, tampering investigation, bullying investigation, concussion investigation, all these investigations. I just want to investigate if they can kick the Jets' ass this week without Tua Tagovailoa, which definitely does put a damper on it. I mean, look, he was one of the most exciting parts of this season. What is he going to be? How much is he going to develop this year? Is he the guy? And you hope that they get him back soon and that he's healthy and that he'll be good to go. And look, this is why they paid Teddy Bridgewater all that money. I know that there's a lot of people who are like, let's go, Skylar's the limit this time around. Let's go and see what Skylar's got to give us. I just think that for this, you got to give Teddy his chance. Teddy has won games in this league. Teddy has been a guy who has been able to be in this role before. And the reason that you go and pay the money that you do for him in case Tua wasn't going to be able to go at some point this year, which has been his history. So it was a good investment by the Miami Dolphins in my estimation. I don't think that he's looked particularly good most of the time, but I thought that he looked pretty decent on Thursday night. And, of course, outside of that, awful pick that cost him. But it was in a lot of ways, that was a game that, for the Dolphins to be in it, I have talked myself into, I'll give Bengals credit all day. I'm not going to pull a Bills fans thing, making excuses. But for the Dolphins to have that game on the quick turnaround after the physical Bills game and, to be off to the start that they have, like, you're not going to go 17-0. Like, you every Dolphin fan would be pretty happy with 3-1, I imagine, after knowing what the start would be. Now it's the important thing is you got to take advantage of it. You don't want to be sitting here saying, well, we would have taken 4-3 7 weeks in. Because now you're here. You kind of have an idea of what teams are, and the Patriots look like they stink. Meanwhile, the Lions look like an explosive offense. So you're not going to quite know what every team is going into this thing and how challenging they will be. That being said, with this Jets team, this Jets team comes in here and they have 2 last-second wins. And they have, had a thriller against Cleveland, which, Cleveland kind of screwed the pooch on that one. And then they win last week in a game where Kenny Pickett comes in against the Steelers. Zach Wilson's making his return. He looks excited. They got to be thrilled. Their quarterback leads them on a comeback drive. That's what every fan base wants in this league that has a young QB. And so Zach Wilson, weird offseason as it was with all the, mom stuff that was going on there. He is in year 2. They were excited to draft him. He is supposed to be electric, has himself a hoose of an arm. He is a bit of a gunslinger. And you wonder if Josh Boyer can, release the hounds a little bit on him, because Josh Boyer, young quarterbacks, tends to do a good job getting after him. I think the thing that you look at this Dolphins team, they're not quite as high as I thought that they would be in getting to the quarterback and getting sacked so far this year. Bringing back a guy like Emmanuel Ogbah and bringing Jalen Phillips in year 2, I would think that, those guys would be racking it up a little bit. And Jalen Phillips, did a good job against Joe Burrow, getting some hits on him. Did get his first sack of the season against him. But, Ogbah has only got 1 sack. He did get 4 QB hits against Josh Allen. And Josh Allen's hard to bring down. But I think that this would be nice if it could be a breakout game, especially with the tackles out for the Jets, if you could go after these. And I think that pass rush getting going in some way, shape, or form should help and could help with what's going on in the secondary, because we know that the Dolphins have been giving up oodles of yards, big-time plays, and part of that is the fact that you have Xavier Howard out there hampered. Part of the reason is you have Byron Jones, who knows when he's going to come back. They announced this week that he is not coming off of IR. You don't know. I mean, like, he got that. There were questions if Byron Jones was going to come back this year, and now back to the team this year if they wanted him back, and he gets that surgery to lock up the old salary in a strategic move, and now you're kind of hoping and praying. Maybe this is something that does go longer into the whole deal of this thing. But for the standpoint of going into this game and what they need to do, I really do think it's a huge thing for the Dolphins if they can really put some heat on Zach Wilson and get him uncomfortable and make him see things that he's not going to. And typically Javon Holland is so great in that and making guys, think that they're comfortable and lure them into some kind of big mistakes. We know how aggressive he is and, can get like a missile going after these guys with his hits and things like that. But, for Miami, obviously there's going to be a lot of attention paid to what Teddy can do in this game and what he's going to have in his receiving core. It was concerning seeing on the injury report today, Tyreek Hill, first time he's appeared. He's on the injury report with a quad injury. He was limited in practice. Jalen Waddle still dealing with that groin, which is, concerning because even with having Tyreek Hill, with Teddy Bridgewater, in for Tua, you do feel with those two dudes out there, they can make anything happen. They can take a little play and make it, a big time play. They can make something explosive. We saw that against the Bengals. Tyreek Hill was still able to put up numbers. What he did this week, he told the reporters, I can put up numbers with you. And if they're hampered in any way, then on top of not having your starting quarterback in there, you just start thinking about the things that are piling up for the Dolphins between Tua being out, Tyreek Hill being hampered if he is, Jalen Waddle being hampered, Xavier Howard being hampered. These are your best players on the team. These are the faces of your team. I mean, who's healthy then on the team? That's one of your best guys, like Javon Holland. And I think, looking at that was a bit concerning. Now, with Xavier not practicing for 2 straight days, is that a concern that he's not going to play? They keep going day to day with that, or are they putting him in bubble wrap and saying, like, dude, game it. Like, let's go out there. Keon Crossan also not out there practicing. One guy who looks like he's back full go is Cedric Wilson, so that should be a nice move because he really hasn't, I think, shined yet. And people were, before the Tyreek Hill mania went down, people were excited to see what Cedric Wilson was going to bring to the table for this team. And so if you do have those guys dealing with something, this could be the time where it goes about. Or maybe this is a game where you do get something from a Mike Gesicki or something like that. Although it was weird seeing John Embry, the tight ends coach this week. He said something to the effect of, what do you mean for, what do you make of the idea of him maybe being frustrated or if there is any frustration. He says he'd have to answer about the frustrations. Yeah, I feel we're getting what we need out of him and what has been capable. Some of it's been coverage dictated, but like I said at the beginning of your question, it's about winning. And, it's ironic. I got a text from George Kittle on Tuesday at 3 a.m. Oh, man, they're bringing Kittle into the whole thing. And it was a video of him in the game against the Rams knocking down a DB from behind. And that's what we want. That's the mentality here. It's not about how many passes did you catch. At the end of the day, you're judged. This is a team sport. What did you do as a team? So I posed the question to the guys in my room when we were 3-0. How many of you guys here have been 3-0 as a professional? You know how many raised their hand? None. So when we're trying to do something around here and accomplish something as an organization, it's not about one player. Whether you're talking about Mike Gesicki, Tyreek Hill, Tua Tagovailoa, it doesn't matter. We're trying to win the Super Bowl. We're not trying to win a fantasy league, and we're not trying to lift one guy over one person. We're going to take what the defense gives us. And, So, look, it's not exactly surprising to read this. Like, we know that this is a coaching staff that has been hard on Mike Gesicki, that they are expecting a lot out of Mike Gesicki. But I do think that, like, just because a guy maybe doesn't fit all the perfections that you want doesn't mean that he can't help you in other areas. I don't think it's smart to just completely shut a guy out, and especially if you are dealing with some things from an injury standpoint in your receiving core. Now, look, him and Teddy Bridgewater getting on the same page, much better than they did last Thursday night, is obviously key. But man, I just read that. I was like, geez, all right, man. Like, let's see what's happening with that, and let's see if Mike Gesicki responds the right way. He's not going to give the media anything as far as that. He holds his cards close to the vest and all that. But, it's kind of felt like since that deal ever happened, since the franchise has gone down, like it hasn't been the smoothest marriage with all that being said. So, look, both of these teams go into this. They're 3rd and 4th in the NFL in passing yards per game. Neither one of these teams is particularly good at rushing the football. The Dolphins are abysmal at rushing the football so far this year, which is, I think, a little surprising to some people based on what Mike McDaniel brought to the table. Like, look, his best players are those wide receivers, so I'm glad that he is feeding them the ball. Overly targeting those guys again and again and again is not stupid. I think that as many times as Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill can have the football in their hands, that's a good thing for me. But I do think that when you look around in the certain situations they've been in, whether it's been having to get out of the end zone against Buffalo, or whether it's been having to tick away, minutes late in games that you have a lead, they have not been able to sustain that for an entire game and really dictate the terms when it comes to their run game. And it's surprising. I think that a lot of people went into this thing and thought if you were going to be sure about anything, it would have been pass defense and the run game. And just because of the faith in the coach and the faith in the defense. And I don't think you could really count on either one of them. The beauty of that is maybe that stuff comes around and it gets better and it complements everything that has been the good thing, which has been the explosive plays that they've had on offense and the ability that they've still had to come up with big stops when it's really mattered. And they really need to get something that's been key for them here. But, going against this Jets team with a quarterback who, has been mistake prone and does like to sling it, if they could do some things to fool around with him and really mess with Zach Wilson, I think it really puts you in a good spot. But look, if you lose to this game and you lose this team and you have the same record as the Jets with them having the tiebreaker off you, yeah, you do feel like you lose a lot of steam, especially with the distractions that are hanging over you with the Tua injury, the investigation, all of that type of stuff. So you're going on the road and you're a favorite. And for that reasons, I think the Dolphin fans should feel good because I do think top to bottom, they are a better team than the Jets, why they're 3.5-point favorites. And I do think that people are looking at the Jets maybe wins as a little bit fluky and all that. But that being said, if you get to the situation where you end up losing this game, it does feel like, all that great momentum that you have built up is gonna be a bit squandered. So it's an important one. And I think for the whole concussion thing that's hanging down and the guillotine that is this investigation whenever it does drop, it's interesting though, but been hearing some of the star players talk about it around the league. I think that not that the concussions are being overlooked or scoffed at by players, but hearing Joe Burrow talk to Colin Cowherd this week and say I've forgotten games. It goes with the territory. It is all of that. You hear Jalen Ramsey who talking about T. Higgins who balled out that Thursday night and he was concussed the game beforehand. And it's interesting hearing the faces of this league not really throw up the warning lights and all that type of stuff. They're not going out here and putting all this panic out for everybody. And I think that's a pretty interesting thing to do because, whatever comes of this, I do think that I don't want to say it's to a blame for what happened because I don't blame anybody for what happened or for football happening during a football game. But I think the thing that is under discussed here is that the player's desire to play does have a big role in it. And, you've had Bill Belichick and I've had my co-host Leroy Horde who played for him talk about, the times where Belichick has stepped in before there were even protocols and wouldn't let Leroy play even though he's medically cleared. And Belichick coming out and reiterating that on Boston radio. But this was supposed to be a situation where it was less in the team's hands. It was supposed to be in independent hands and supposed to be, in working with a tandem of an independent doctor, an independent neurologist, and the team to make the right decision here. And if they cleared him and the team is in the situation where he wanted to play and the coach wanted, really understands his desire to do big things this season. For me, the more the days go by on this and the more it goes down, I think people are looking for something that was definitely horrifying to watch. And, the idea of them playing football 3 days later is stupid. And all of these Thursday night games suck and they're greed. And it's just, I think that is the unfortunate thing here in all of the coverage is that it's not really just said, it's football. They don't really know. You could throw up a football controversy whenever football controversy happens, but the idea that they're playing extra games and they're playing games all the time during the week now definitely adds on top of this. But to see that the players, Joe Burrow and Jalen Ramsey and different sides of the football talk about the idea that, well, it's kind of weird that there's this talk of outrage or evil. It's we all know. We're not stupid to not know that there are risks of playing football. And I think that, it sucks when bad things happen. And it sucks that what happened to Tua happened in the fashion that it did. But you just hope that he has a big-time recovery and that, he's ready to go full strength and can ball out when he comes back because certainly I think if you ask Tua, all these people are telling him to retire and don't play anymore and distance yourself from the Dolphins. I think if you had him down, like once he's fully healthy, the thing that he wants to do most is to come out and ball out for the Dolphins and ball out for this head coach who's had his back and ball out for Tyreek Hill who's had his back and all that stuff. And also, have himself a lucrative, full, profitable career. I think that if you asked him, what was on his mindset more than anything, it's probably that rather than what can I do to distance myself from the Dolphins. But honestly, I'm sure we'll talk about it again whenever this investigation thing drops. But man, I just can't wait to really get back to the action of this too, because it is it's been a weird few days in the aftermath of all this.